Next we are going to press the pedal disconnect button down here, and then we can test the rudder. And you want to move the rudder especially slowly. Come on, give me that flight control page again. So you want to move it very slowly, because the rudder can cause a really loud bang in the back when it reaches full deflection. So be sure that you handle it very, very gently, like this. Okay, when the rudder is checked, we can release the pedal disconnect button again. If we now have a look at this from the outside, you can see that we still have a couple meters remaining to the whole short line. And this is going to be transponder into TARA. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. And then you move up to the overhead panel and turn the packs off if a packs off takeoff has been calculated. You need to turn the packs off at least 20 seconds prior to setting takeoff thrust. So when lining up on the runway, there are different opinions from pilots on how to conduct the lineup. Airbus advises you to do an acute angle of 90 degrees in order to use the least possible runway. So the Airbus procedure is to take the aircraft across the center line and then do the acute lineup to use as little runway as possible. However, doing a very steep turn like we are doing right now has the potential of making your main wheels rub across the tarmac, which might not be that good for the wheels. Airbus explicitly says that doesn't matter. However, some pilots prefer to do their takeoff performance calculation with a little bit less takeoff run available in order to be able to do a smoother lineup and bring it across the turn in a little bit more gentle manner. In any case, once our lineup is completed, we can wait for the takeoff clearance, ensure that the packs have been off for at least 20 seconds, and with that we are now all set to go. So, are you ready to go? Lights are on, packs are off, the checklist is completed, then we can release the park and brake, start the timer, and then stabilize the engines at 1.1 EPR or 50% N1 if you use the GE engines. So, here we go. Take off.
minus 1 degrees here
Look,
at my place. Yes.
I like how some shades are super effective. People ask me why I use some shades if it's a game, but actually even in the game sun is very unpleasant when it shines in your face. Game or not. I remember when I was a kid I played IL-2, the old one. And it had the brightest sun in all of the games, in all simulators I played at the time, and I was happy. It actually felt really distracting and hurtful twice when chasing someone and being blinded literally. Because it was a viable tactic to hide behind the sun. It was really good.
What game again?
IL-2. IL-2, IL-2. Different pronunciations. So we're gonna be in the air for 1.5 hours. Plenty of things to do. I will watch tutorials to prepare for them.
400 and a maximum level of flight level 415. In general, the Airbus A330 can go up to flight level 410, and even with a fully loaded A330-300, you can definitely expect to get up to these very high flight levels. The A330 has the wings designed for an A340-300, which can be some 40 tons heavier, so you do have a lot of performance available from your wings. In general, you want to fly as close to the optimum flight level as possible, and since the optimum is only going to increase during the flight, provided that weather doesn't play an influence here, such as stronger tailwinds down below. So, even though we have planned to cruise at flight level 390, it would only be logical to climb to flight level 410 instead. So let's go ahead and do that.
I like how, when flying IRL, you never notice how the plane turns. But here right now, it feels kinda scary. Oh, there's no leaping here. Oh, the window is kinda... The window is frozen.
Oh, I see.
That's interesting.
Nice detail. Nice detail.
To 30, 12, 30, 12. Transition altitudes. I don't actually know.
Landing Cat 3B ILS, you can see here RBR 75 meters. So that's all we need today because we're going to do a Cat 3B and this runway is capable. If we were doing a Cat 3A, for example, if the aircraft was broken and needed us to do a Cat 3A, it couldn't do Cat 3B, then when we're going to go and return onto runway 16, which is the runway here with an auto land available. There we go. If I show you the charts, we can see that it is, here we go, ILS, runway 16, Cat 2 and Cat 3. If we go down to the bottom, we can see Cat 3B ILS, there's also Cat 3A. There'll be no decision height for Cat 3B ILS, runway 16, Cat 2 and Cat 3. If we go down to the bottom, we can see Cat 3B ILS, there's also Cat 3A. There'll be no decision height for Cat 3B ILS, so we can actually put in no for decision height. So let's set it up in the MCD.
Is leave that the decision because B landing, which tells the aircraft that it will be in charge of the landing today. So what we would normally do then is enter no decision height. There is no need to give a decision because the aircraft is going to get us down to actually the words no, and pop that in there, but that is not allowed. So all we can do in Microsoft Flight Simulator for the moment is leave that blank. So
decision height in the radio field, so when particular approach, you'll see that we've got no minimums here. We must have an RVR of 75 meters. Note into our decision height in the radio field, so we'll be using the radio altimeter. It's a Cat 3 approach.
Probably what you need most of the time, but still, yeah, 75 is very good fog. But it's worth remembering that you need to be careful with your alternates because, of course, if they're the only airfield in the area that have not got fog, and you need to keep a close eye on that weather whilst you're sitting in the hole, then a lot of people will be using it. So let's say Lisbon, or let's say the airfield you're trying to get into is close to its minimums and that people can't even make the approach. Because of course we're flying Cat 3B today, which is very good, but there are airfields that are only Cat 2 or even Cat 1. So if you're sitting in the hold waiting to fly into one of those and your alternate is nearby and it's got nicer weather, you need to make sure that you've got enough fuel if you go there to join the queue there, because of course if people can't get into the destination like you and they will want to divert, then if everyone arrives with not much fuel into the alternate, then you can get yourself a bit unstuck. So you need to have extra fuel in case everybody has the same plan as you, basically. Anyway, there we go. We've got over half an hour sitting here in the hole. No problem at the moment. We've got an expected approach time of 5 minutes from now, so that's great.
Sequencing the flight plan means that the active inbound waypoint has to be one that you are still going to overfly on the approach, so that the logic of the active waypoints on your flight plan equals what you are really going to fly over, so that you have proper missed approach guidance available in case of a go-around. While you're on the approach itself, you should continuously cross-check the altitude versus distance for your landing. It is paramount that you remember your actual energy situation, which is always your actual altitude plus your airspeed. The A330 descends a little bit better than, or rather descends a little bit better in terms of economy, which means goes down worse than your typical other aircraft. Now, for every 1,000 feet you need to lose, you need approximately 4 nautical miles. Therefore, energy management is paramount in the Airbus A330. I do recommend that for every 1,000 feet you pass, you do a calculation in the back of your head. For example, reaching 4,000, we need 4 times 4, so that's 16 nautical miles, and we roughly have that at the moment. Now, keeping your airspeed under control is really one of the most important things when flying an Airbus A330. As a general rule of thumb, you want to have the speed down below 200 knots and with at least flaps 1 extended by the time you intercept the glide slope. Here's a little gotcha. Before you extend the flaps into the 2 position, you might be fooled by the indications on the display. You can see VFE next is indicated as 205 knots. However, if we look at the placard over here, we can see that the actual flap 2 limit speed is 196. Therefore, if you are faster than 196 and you extend the flaps into the 2 position, you will actually get an overspeed condition. Once the flaps are in 2, lower the landing gear, and at this point you really need to pay special attention to the speed reducing. The speed brakes may be used all the way until the landing flaps are selected. And in many cases you will need to do exactly that. So we've got the landing gear coming down now, creating additional drag, but you can see even with the gear and the speed brakes fully out, the airplane is barely decelerating. When the speed is nicely under control and getting close to the landing speed limit, then you can retract the speed brakes. But as you can see, when the flaps are selected to full, the speed brakes actually automatically retract. Now, once the landing gear is lowered, we can arm our ground spoilers, turn on the nose light and the runway turn-off light, and then read the landing checklist down from the ECAM memo. Any good landing starts from fully stabilized conditions, but what exactly does that mean? You are stabilized on the approach if you're on speed, on localizer, on glide slope, at a descent rate appropriate for the phase of flight, at a pitch attitude appropriate for the phase of flight, in landing configuration, so flaps, gear, and last but not least with a thrust that is appropriate for the phase of flight. At 100 feet on the radio altimeter, the automatic trim ceases and the pitch law is modified to be a full authority pitch direct law. Now, at 50 feet, a slight pitch down elevator order is applied, and therefore the pilot will have to move the stick rearwards so as to reproduce conventional aircraft aerodynamic characteristics. From a stabilized approach, which in this context mostly refers to the rate of descent and the pitch, the flare height is about 40 feet. If you encounter a crosswind during the approach, you should remain in a cramped position until you enter the flare and then decrab with the rudder and apply slight wing down aileron into the wind so that you land with the wing that faces into the wind first. This is done so that you can minimize the amount of drift away from the center line that you are going to encounter. Airbus recommends to turn the autopilot off latest around 300 to 600 feet above the landing runway. Any airlines recommend that you do the same for the auto thrust when passing 1,000 feet. In the aircraft with Rolls-Royce engines, you are looking at generally around 46% N1 on the final approach, and in aircraft with the GE engine you are looking at about 56%. Reaching 50 feet, we look towards the end of the runway and use the radio altimeter to judge our height. So,